Have you ever wondered what do you want to categorize your business as? An LLC, a partnership, a sole proprietorship, or maybe a corporation? Well, this workshop is for you because we're going to break down the different types of business names, whether it's an LLC, sole proprietor, whatever it is, the pros, the things, and the reasons why people get this business name, and some common businesses that fall under these categories. So before we start this presentation with our good friends at Pacific Western Bank, at Luis, thank you again for doing this presentation. Please share this video with your friends and family, especially if you know any business owners or aspiring business owners. They're going to leave this presentation empowered. It's a very formal conversation where we answer some key questions. So without further ado, we will start this presentation.
Hi, my name is Luis Ortiz. I'm the branch manager for Pacific Western Bank, housed in Rosemead, California. Today's topic, we're going to be talking a little bit about the type of business and the structures behind them. So let's go ahead and start off with the first one, which is the most basic and common and easiest type of business to go ahead and establish. That would actually to hold off a little bit on that. Actually, the factors that come into the type of businesses that you go ahead and establish have a few factors that come into play. First, the one of them is the taxation. So we need to know and understand how the business is going to work and how the taxes will be implemented on that. The second thing is risk and liability. We also need to make sure who is the owner, if there's more than one, if there's multiple people, and the risk and liability that each individual will obtain. Another one is management, who is going to be the decision-making individuals. Once again, if it's only one, if there's multiple people, and also how the business persists and how it's sold. So once again, if it's sold in as a public trading company or not. And of course, the last thing would also be expense and formality. So we need to know the cost, the legal responsibility of the business. So let's go ahead and start off with the first one, which is the most common and easiest type of business for you to go ahead and obtain. That's a sole proprietorship. In some cases, just for short, it's a sole prop. This business is actually owned and run by one individual. The some of the advantages and disadvantages. Well, the owner has unlimited personal liability. That's one of the things that could be a disadvantage. Taxes. This is a pass-through tax account, meaning that the individual is also responsible for any type of taxes. Good thing, the owner controls the business. There's nobody else that's involved. And the cost is very, very low to start up this business. So once again, this is the most basic and less involved business to go ahead and start. The second one, above that one, we're talking of a partnership account. The partnership, as the word says, partner, meaning there's more than one. This is usually a business that's owned and run by two individuals. Now, the thing about this one is, unlike the sole proprietorship, the liability is not only run or impacted by one, it's impacted by both parties. And of course, the risk and the cost are shared by both, but it's also one of the simplest and easiest business to go ahead and start up and run. Now, the second or the actual third one that's another business is what's called a limited liability company. In short, it's called an LLC. This, in some cases, could be known as a hybrid account. It's a hybrid between a corporation and a partnership as well. So, of course, it actually has its benefits and disadvantages. So one of the advantages is it's actual for tax purposes and tax reporting. It's the entity itself that's being used to report any tax filings and revenue and costs. It doesn't go down to the actual individual. So that's one of the best features. And of course, it's called limited liability because also the liability does not affect the owner. It's affecting the actual entity. Um, the the last one and the largest type of business that actually could be created is called a corporation. Now, a corporation has two types. It's a C corporation and an S corporation. Now, this one I'll just go ahead and vaguely describe the difference. It uh, it depends on the tax reporting that you're doing. So, my recommendation is when you're starting up this type of corporation is to talk to a tax advisor or some sort of a CPA for them to guide you to see how you're going to be doing your tax reporting. And depending on that, you will be considered to be a C corporation or an S corporation. Um, of course, there's a lot of benefits to actually having a corporation. Of course, one of them is the taxation. Again, it's taxes are not focused on individuals; it's focused on the corporation. The liability also is for the entity and corporation. It doesn't affect the owners; it affects the entity. This one is the formation for a corporation is a little bit more complex. There's a little bit more documents because it's a bigger company with more owners or shareholders. It actually becomes a little bit more complex. Um, and once again, the difference between the C and the Ls corporation is the taxation. So once again, highly recommend and speaking to a CPA or a tax advisor to actually guide you on that. Um, um, any questions that you might have?
Yeah. We have some questions that commonly asked questions from business owners in regards to the type of businesses. But thank you for giving the breakdown and overview of that. Firstly, for the sole proprietor, could you give some examples of who would fall underneath? You would say under a sole proprietor.
Yeah, of course. This could be a just one individual starting a business, which could be a plumber, a electrician, a mechanic, somebody who wants to sell flowers and who has a little stand somewhere. So that is a perfect example of a sole proprietorship. Once again, it's a company that's owned by one individual. So once again, the easiest and the smallest type of a business.
So even like someone like a freelancer too, someone that does freelance work that they're themselves and they're just doing work for themselves.
Of
Okay.
course. Once again, depending on the liability and the level of risk that that individual is willing to take, yes, some sort of a freelancer, a architect, somebody that's just a one-person owner
Mhm.
is definitely able to do a sole proprietorship.
Now, you just mentioned a keyword right there. Maybe someone is not sure what that would mean. When you say liability or risk, what do you mean with that for a business when you talk about liability?
Of course, like everything else, you have car insurance, you have home insurance. So at the same time, the liability for a business comes down to the level of risk that the business is taking. So, for example, if a sole proprietorship or somebody who is a mechanic and does something wrong, of course not intentionally, but the work is not done properly, or something legally happens, the sole owner takes full responsibility of the risk and liability of that business. Unlike something else, more like an LLC or corporation, it's the entity that's taking the full on responsibility and liability of something negligent. So
Okay.
that's that's um, that's the difference once again.
Okay, okay. Thank you for explaining that. I'm sure maybe someone was wondering about liability. Now, so we talked about sole proprietorship. Now, you mentioned a partnership. So you said it's involving more than one. Do you have any examples that would fall under something like a partnership?
Yeah, actually, one common one is somebody who owns commercial buildings. Perhaps one individual doesn't have enough assets or money to go into that business, and he or she needs a partner. So when that happens, of course, once again, as the word says, you have more than one party owning that business with equal risk or equal everything. Um, but yeah, that's the huge difference. So
Mhm.
now it's just not one, but it's two people that are equally owning that business.
Okay. And does it always have to be equal in a partnership, or could it be like, for example, one of the partners owns 80% and the other owns 20, or is it always split down the middle 50-50?
No, that's a good question, actually. A lot of people have that misinterpretation that just because he's my partner, everything's 50-50. No, in some cases, for example, yes, somebody could have 80% ownership of that business and the other one has 20. Now, the proper terminology for that would be somebody would be the general partner
Mhm.
compared to somebody who's just a regular partner. So, it does go into more in in detail and in depth. But yes, you are correct. Not everything is 50-50, and in some cases, some one partner has more control or ownership of the business.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you for explaining that. Now, moving on to the next one, the LLC, which I see a lot of it around a lot of businesses. At the end of their name, I see LLC.
Yes.
Now, what type of business is there specific, or can anyone you seen usually get those? Or
Yeah, actually, that one, yes, is the most common one that a lot of people go for. And the reason for that is because they don't want for that one specific individual to take all the risk and have any type of negative liability. So that's why they convert their business into an LLC. So, for example, a sole proprietorship, somebody who, for example, let's go ahead and just give it Luis's Plumbing. um, I would, I am growing. I don't want to take the risk for myself in case if something happens. I convert my business into Luis's Plumbing LLC. So now the risk is away from me and focus on the entity. So yes, and that's the biggest reason why a lot of people switch their businesses to the LLC for, like I said, so they don't take full responsibility of any risk and liability.
okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. So if someone tries to sue the business and it's under an LLC, they can only go after the business and cannot go under your personal. Try to go, try to get your house, your car. That's under your
Perfect.
personal name, right?
Perfect. That is a great, that's the basic reason why.
Mm.
Yes, in case if something happens and you get sued, once again, the sole proprietors, they could go after you because you're the owner. The LLC, they go after the entity other than the
Mhm.
owner or owners of the business. So yes, that's a perfect example, or of why they switch it.
Okay. And if someone's a solo person, like a sole proprietor, they can also get an LLC, or do you have to have multiple people, or is it open to anyone?
No, it is open to anybody. So
Okay.
as long as they do change and convert the sole proprietorship and do file the legal documentations through the state and convert it into an LLC, anybody could do it. So it doesn't have to be more than one. It could only be one. But as long as the proper documentation is filed and converted from the sole proprietorship to the LLC, everything should be fine.
Okay, perfect. Then that's good. That's good. And last but not least, the corporation, the C corp, the S corp. What types of business have you seen usually get this type of name?
The the corporation also could be a lot of people think of a corporation as in a huge business,
Hmm.
something that has over 1,000 employees. Well, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, it could also be run by less than 100 people. The only difference between that is that in some cases it could be a public traded company. So there's more people involved, there's more investors that are involved. And in that case, because the company is so big, there's presidents, treasurers, and secretaries that are issued for those roles to actually manage that business. So once again, too, I mean, owners in a corporation come and go. So it it does open the door for more individuals to run the business and kind of um, see see the big picture of that. So yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's good to know. So maybe something that someone that just started a business probably shouldn't worry about. I have to get the corporation or this or that.
Yeah, no. In most cases, like everything else, it does take baby steps. Of course, businesses of course, as an owner of a business, you want it to thrive and succeed. So in somebody's wish list, yeah, they actually might want to go to that extent to actually create and mold their business to a corporation. Once again, it actually depends on quite a few factors, on their
Mhm.
taxation, on their liability, and how many people are running the business.
Okay, that's good to know. And from all of these, the corporation, LLC, partnership, proprietor, sole proprietor, what have you seen is the most common from all these used for businesses?
The LLC. The LLC is the one that obviously is not too small, not too big. It's just perfect, right in the middle. And that seems to be the most common one.
Mhm.
And like I said, I mean, because most businesses are obviously run by more than one people, not too big to where you're going to be having different type of officers coming in as president and CEO of a corporation. So the LLCs are the ones that kind of fit best in most
Mhm.
situations.
Okay. And do you have to pay to get like a LLC, sole proprietor? Like is the process? Do you have to pay? Is it free like the federal tax ID, or is it you have to pay for this?
Well, in this situation, unfortunately, certain things are not free.
Mhm.
Actually, creating. Luckily, it's not too expensive, but you do have to pay yes, annual fees or every other year to go ahead and renew um, um, documentations that are filed through your state. Or so yes, especially the LLC, or even something smaller for like, for example, a sole proprietorship. Of course, you do need a business license, and that is something that obviously is has a fee at your local city level. So, unfortunately, doing the paperwork and filing for the type of business has certain fees.
Mhm. And like every business, you have to invest in the business, right? In order, you got to get your paperwork, you got to do the register the business, you got to pay your taxes, you got to do all of that. I mean, probably no one loves doing that, but you have to, right?
You have to. And once again, that just kind of, you are creating a legitimate business, something that obviously you as an owner stands behind and is proud of. And yes, so everything comes with a little bit of work, of course.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, of course. You got to get a little skin in the game. And I was gonna ask, for someone that wants to set up their business as a sole proprietor, partnership, LLC, S corp, and all that, would you say they should do it before they start their business, or they should do it 6 months into starting their business, a year, or is it just best right off the bat do it already?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is to kind of get this out of the way. It's once again, if you're thinking of a business, you need to really create some sort of a platform and some sort of an agenda to see what type of business you're actually going to create. How many owners are going to be in there? What kind of risk and liabilities are you going to take? So so the best thing to do is to kind of brainstorm, have a good idea of what your goal is, short term and long term. And depending on that, then yes, then that actually will help you as a guide to see what type of businesses. But yes, the best thing to do is to go ahead and kind of, like to say, um, hit the ground running
Mhm.
and get everything done as soon as you can.
Okay, okay. And do you know that, of any specific or like general documents that one would need to file to get your sole proprietor LLC or whatever it is that you want to
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, of course. Let me just give you some basic ones. For example, the sole proprietor. You do need a business license and a fictitious name. All those are issued at the local level, so either city or state. The LLC, of course, now goes a little bit higher. Some of the documents that are required are called the statement of information. Those usually list who manages that LLC, and those are issued by the state. Of course, everything else has fees, so these also have fees. And partnership. The partnership are those are also created through, in some cases, some sort of a lawyer, because there has to be a partnership agreement to make sure what partners have what what assets, and to make sure who has, like we talked about earlier, not everybody's 50-50. So that needs to be clarified on the partnership agreements. Also, in case if one partner wants to leave, or in some cases, unfortunately, they actually pass away, we need to know who the replacement is, if there's a replacement for that partner. Lastly, of course, is the corporation. That one's a little bit more complex. It does require, for example, the articles of incorporation. In some cases, we do need bylaws and corporate minutes. These documents usually tell us the type of business that business is, how does it operate, how many officers are there, and what roles do each of them have. So those are just some examples of the documentations for each business.
Hmm. Thank you, thank you. I think that was a great breakdown of what someone should expect for each one of those: sole proprietor, partnership, LLC, and corporation. And I don't have any other questions on my end. I think that would answer the most, commonly asked questions that we've seen, general questions. Definitely for any more specific questions, uh, I think it'd be best just going either to your bank or your accountant, your CPA, sometimes even lawyer. Who do you go to form the LLC and S corp and all this? Do you go to an accountant, a lawyer? Who do you do it through?
The um, the sole proprietorship, that could be done at the local level, your city. That's a perfect thing, because you will be operating from your city, obviously. So you do need some sort of a business license for that specific area. The LLC, you would have to go to the state, to the Secretary of State website for your local state, and actually fill out those forms. One good thing about all these, especially with the government, is that the websites are pretty user friendly. So there's quite a bit of tools there if you're uncertain of what type of business you're actually trying to look for. And the most complex, of course, would be the corporation. That one I would definitely highly recommend speaking with some sort of a CPA or perhaps a business lawyer to make sure that that those documents are in order.
Okay, okay. That's all good to know. Yeah, no other questions on my end. I don't know. Do you have any final remarks, Luis, for any whether it's a business owner, someone that wants to start a business, they're interested in starting a business, anything you want to leave them off with?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's it's actually one of those things that there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of resources out there that will definitely help anybody who's actually trying to think and start a business to definitely use. Banks are a good resource. Unfortunately, we don't give legal advice, but we could definitely point them to the right direction, and perhaps give them samples of how documents look and where to go to search for them. But definitely have them use a lot of sources and tools that are out there for sure.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you. And I think something that a lot of people forget is that a lot of the services that the bank offers is like when it comes to when you guys are giving advice and all that. I mean, it's not like when we sit down with the personal banker, you guys charge us for that, right? A lawyer's a couple $100 an hour, an accountant as well.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. And of course, there's always fees, and of course, there's always CPAs that are going to obviously charge for that. But I mean, just for anybody who really wants to kind of get their foot in the door, a great business bank is a way to start to at least get some basic information and guidance to their path, so I kind of highly recommend maybe searching for a business bank. Obviously, we're we're a perfect business bank for anybody that would want to come and even just get advice at no cost whatsoever. Of course, but we would be more than happy to.
Awesome. And can you give us briefly, again, your title, your role at the bank, and the city in which you are located in as well?
Of course. My title is AVP, Branch Operations Manager, branch manager for the branch in Rosemead, California. We actually would be more than happy to help anybody who comes in.
Awesome. That's it on my end. Thank you again, Luis, for all the information. It was very helpful. I know a lot of the people watching are going to learn a lot from that. And again, thank you. We hope to see you again soon for another workshop. Take care, Luis, and take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Wow, what a great conversation I just had with Luis from Pacific Western Bank. And if you're a business owner or an aspiring business owner and want to learn more about, how to formalize my business, how to get business credit and all that, please be sure to check out all our videos on Facebook and YouTube as we're doing this small business virtual conference for you, business owner or aspiring business owner. It's going to be for the month of April and May. Check it out. All our videos are there, and you can share it with your friends and family so they can be empowered too. Again, my name is Josh Rincon, Program Director here at Avance Latino.